Amen. Happy Sabbath, everybody.
Happy Sabbath.
So I've got 4 presentations this weekend, and I don't think we'll probably get through the material that I want to cover, but we'll just go as far as we go and hopefully have some fun on the journey. Just a random question, nothing to do with my studies. Everybody's familiar with the 1850 chart. Yeah, we all know what these are symbols of.
Yes.
First, second, and third angels' messages. Yeah.
Yes.
So, does everybody understand why it says 1843 here? Second angel's message.
Oh,
Exactly.
if I'm not mistaken, Charles Fitch was proclaiming that in 1843.
Charles Fitch, 1843. Anyone else?
Because that's when they thought Jesus was come, and then at the first disappointment of April 19, 1844, Jesus, that was the first disappointment, so then the second angel's message arrived, Babylon is fallen, and that's when they had to come out of the churches.
Okay, so you're marking that the end of Carrot Reckoning. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
1843, April 19th. Yeah. This one here, first angel's message, 1837.
1837.
Yeah, it says 1837.
Are we using mine?
Yep. So there's a mic here.
There should be one.
Oh, there's one.
I remember a brother mentioned that Joseph Wolf went to Congress and proclaimed the message in 1837. That's why it's there. And I looked it up.
Everybody know that?
Say it again.
1837.
I know the date. I knew that he did that.
Joseph Wolf comes to America, preaches in a number of countries on the eastern seaboard, and he goes to Washington, and he gets invited by, is it Quincy Adams or
John
Quincy?
John Quincy. The second.
Who's the ex-president by then, to speak at Congress. So that's why they mark 1837 here. So when someone stands up before Congress preaching a message, in this history it's the first angel's message, then you know something significant has happened. Just a random thought there. Not many people know that. My brother did. So I want to look at, I guess I'd say some issues on organisation, but it probably won't get there because I don't think we'll have enough time to finish. So it's my first time here. I don't know where everybody's understanding is, how much we all know or don't know. So we'll sort of start off slowly. Hopefully most people will know the information that I'm presenting. So let's read some passages. This is dealing with Revelation chapter 10. Revelation chapter 10, we're all familiar with that?
Yes.
It's Manuscript Releases, volume 19, page 320, paragraph 3. Just one sentence. Actually, you'll probably do 2 sentences.
Read that again.
MR 19, or 19 MR. I'll put them over here. 19 MR. I'll do this. Page 320. We'll read paragraph 3, and then we'll read paragraph 1. Out of order. We're all familiar with this passage, I'm sure. The special light given to John, which was expressed in the 7 thunders, was a delineation of events which would transpire under the first and second angels' messages. Next paragraph, paragraph 1. After these seven thunders utter their voices, the instruction comes to John as to Daniel in regard to the little book. Seal up those things which the seven thunders uttered. These relate to future events which will be disclosed in their order. So we know that the seven thunders, they're a delineation of events, and that they cover the events of Millerite history. Yeah, so I think we all are reasonably familiar with that. So here are these seven thunders. This is Millerite history. And it says the events that will transpire on the first and second angel's messages. So where would we put the first, second angel's messages?
Should be 1837.
From 1798 to 1844.
Okay, so we're going to go from 1798 to
1840. Well, technically Midnight Cry, because October 22nd, 1844.
okay, so you want to go October 44, and this would be the first and the third, and where would you place the second? Anyone? Sorry?
April 19,
April 19th.
44.
So where would we place that?
You're right.
Where would you place April the 19th?
In terms of slashes?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 thunders.
Why would you not carry the second to 1022?
We haven't put the second anywhere yet. Where would we put the second coming into history?
No, I guess.
Is that what your question was?
Yeah, yes, not necessarily just coming, but the time period that spans. Because the question was, where will we put the first and second angel's message as far as the seven thunders are concerned?
Okay.
So
So if I put 1A here, would that? Where would you put 2A?
2A, I would put April 19th.
Where would you place that here?
Well, I haven't thought about that. I was just thinking as far as the question was concerned, like the span, but
Okay, so so I guess you're trying to say this, like something like this.
Right.
Yeah. Any thoughts about where we'd put the second?
Would be the fifth marker?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You place it here. What would that be marking?
The arrival.
So we place it here. Everybody agree with that?
I'll put it at the point.
You put it at the fourth here?
Yeah.
What would that be marking?
The arrival. I mean,
Obviously it'd be the arrival. I'm just wondering. So what would this one be?
that was the beginning first, and the empowerment would be somewhere in
I can just tell you how I would mark them if you want to just see how someone would mark them.
Yeah.
I would do 1798, 1833 is
Where,
mark 8.
where would you place eight? Which
That's
one's
the very
eight?
next marker. After 1798, I would do 1833. That's when the stars fell. It's part of the parable of the signs that Christ gave in Matthew 24 that the Millerites in their history recognized it fulfilling the parable of the 10 virgins. So 1833. Then I would do
August 11th.
August 11, 1840, which is definitely it's the fulfillment of a prophecy in their history. And just so I says, that's when the impetus was given to the movement. That's the going forth of the virgins, but you can kind of mark that a little bit further in that history. But prophetically it's marked there because the virgins don't really go forth, I guess, until they become a movement. So that's when a movement is prophetically marked. Then I would put April 19, right, which is the arrival of the second angel's message.
What about June 1842?
I wouldn't do that in the Seven Thunders. And the reason why is because I'm going after the parable of the 10 virgins.
So these ones would be.
Right. Then I would, because of my current understanding, I would have to do midnight because that's a part of the parable of the 10 virgins. And Midnight Cry, which is they're just prophetically marked. So midnight is a part of the parable of the 10 virgins. Then I would do, so July 21st, and then I would do August 15th. If I was to do it, I'm not saying that's correct, but that's how I would have to understand it if I'm trying to relate to it now.
But brother, you disagree with that? I'll take it. Because you put it here.
No, I moved it over one.
Oh, you want it here as well?
That's why I put the arrival of April 19th.
Oh, I thought you said the 5th marker. Someone said the 5th.
That was it.
Oh, sorry. So you disagree?
No, I was just, because you were asking and nobody was saying anything, so I was just giving my.
So you disagree with him? Or
No.
you changed your
I
mind?
was wondering if you were including midnight in that.
I did. I'm just asking where we replace that. Does everybody agree with that?
I agree with
Sorry?
I can't say I agree with that.
You're not sure?
agree with what?
Yeah, I have.
With this,
I don't have a problem with
Yeah,
that.
I
I'm not
disagree
agree
with
about that.
so people want to do that, yeah?
I disagree with it.
You disagree? Where'd you place it?
I was
I'll give him this. Oh, you got it.
I think it's we should also put 1818 after 1798 and then shift everything forward.
So shift everything forward.
And
So which
then
one are you gonna take
inserts- Like where 33 is would go over one. and
I understand that. If you shift everything over,
Yeah,
are you going to put Midnight Cry here?
yeah, it'll still put you there. Because I was going by
If you
Yeah.
get all of these and you move them all one over, where would you
Yes.
put Midnight and Midnight Cry? That would be Midnight. And where would Midnight
midnight. I wouldn't mark midnight there.
Cry? Oh, so you'd get rid of Midnight.
Yes, and I would leave midnight cry there.
So you wouldn't have Midnight, you just have
And-
Midnight Cry.
I would put 419 where midnight is.
Yeah, so you shift everything over and you're going to get rid of Midnight.
Right.
So you're only going to have Midnight Cry.
Right.
Okay, so we're not sure about which one we're going to go for. So we'll leave that for the moment then. Okay, so we know at least it's that. It's 7 thunders. It's covering Millerite history. First, second, third. Is this the arrival of the third?
Yes.
Are we sure?
Yeah.
Yes.
If it's October 11th.
No, October 22nd.
22nd.
October 22nd. Yeah? Okay, so we'll think, if we've got time, we'll have a think about that this weekend. If that's so. So we know that this is the 2300 day prophecy. And this takes you to the year 457. You're okay with that?
Yes.
Everybody's familiar with that. And this is the third decree.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll agree with that. And who makes this decree?
Artaxerxes Longiman.
And he's the seventh in a line of a series of Persian kings. You're familiar with that?
Yeah.
So we have a 7 thunders here. And this is Cyrus. Everybody agree with that? Okay, so this would be the first decree. I'll put D for decree. Where's the second decree?
516. Darius Histopsis.
Sorry?
516 with Darius Histopsis.
Okay, which number would that be?
That would be the fourth. Cyrus, Cambyses,
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, there.
This one here? Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
And you want to put a date in here, do you?
Yes. 516.
You want to put a date in here?
457.
No.
I'm sorry, 536.
You want to put 536? Yeah? What you say?
Yeah.
Everybody agree with that? So we've got 7 Persian kings. Which connect to 7 thunders, 3 decrees, 3 messages. So we constructed 2300 days. We can do a number of things with 2300 days. Yeah, so that's one thing that we can do with the 2300 days. What's the other primary thing that we do with the 2300 days that teaches us one of the fundamental truths that we show in our message? What else would you get from the 2300 days? There's at least two major things that we'd want to understand about it. Can you give us one?
Oh, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't understand the question
Oh.
correct, because I was gonna say the 7 last kings of Judah, but I don't think that's the answer to your question.
Okay, so 7 last kings of Judah won't have the 2300 days because it's already started here. And the 7 last kings of Judah are here. So it wouldn't be the 7 last kings of Judah. Let's factor that in though, because that's part of one of the things that we I guess we don't want to understand. So we've got 7 kings of Judah. And if you want to do the 7 kings of Judah, where would you place this line? Here or anywhere in between? If you want to bring the 7 kings of Judah. Sorry? Oh, so we've got the 2300 days. The third decree connects to the third message. So if we're going to if you want to connect the 7 kings of Judah, where would you make the connection? My brother said at the beginning.
Starts with Vanessa. First.
Yeah? Okay, so we started here at the beginning. And this is the 2520. So what's the connection, what's the 2300 days teaching us if you think about this story?
Restoration.
Restoration, how did you get that?
Because that's the focal point of what the 2300 is dealing with. It's dealing with the cleansing, the making right, the justifying.
Okay, so you're picking up this idea of restoring here. Anything else that you get from? Is it just that one mark you get in restoring?
No, there's many things to it. I'll have to.
Cleansing the sanctuary.
With respect to restoring. Sorry?
Yeah.
So what? Just explain that a little bit more.
With respect to restoring, when I think about restore, the opposite would be to be scattered. So I think the scattering would also mark like the beginning of that.
Is your
whole-
microphone on? Because I can't hear you.
I believe so.
Okay.
Internal life.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
So the scattering, I would put, I would say right there,
I know where you pointed.
below Manasseh.
Yeah.
At that point, I believe that's where I would fix it.
Anyone else?
As far as what she said.
What you said, restoring.
The question is in regards to the 2300 days, though, right?
Yeah, the 2300 days you're talking about, it's the theme of it's restoring. So I'm saying, besides the fact that the temple's restored in 1844, where else do you pick that theme up? In the 2300 day prophecy.
Okay. Historically, is
I think, however way you want, I don't want to constrain you. If we did Isaiah 46:10, I'll show you the end from the beginning. So we'd expect to see a restoration here, and we see one here. So the 2300 days, the theme is restoring. So why do we go back to 7 kings of Judah? Oh, so you say something.
So you're saying why do we go back to the 7 kings of Judah
That's where my sister took us, so I let her do that.
in reference to?
In reference to 2300 days.
Oh, well,
There's a few things we need to understand about 2300 days. One of them is the connection between 2 7 thunders.
Right.
So without that, we can't make many of the links that we need to in end time prophecy. So we need to understand that about the 2300 days. But then she said, well, what about the 7 kings of Judah? So I'm saying, well, that's not connected to 2300 days. But I put it on to see if there is a connection.
I would say there is.
I'm sure we all know, but I'm probably not.
Yeah, there's not a or at least I have to think about it as far as restoring for the 7 kings of Judah. But it definitely applies as far as and if I'm understanding you correctly, you're talking about the application made as far as its primary application in the restoration factor.
Why would you talk about 2520 in relationship to 2300 days? I guess that's what I'm asking. My brother?
I was going to, well, the connection between them is, well, we've got 7 kings at the end there, but those 7 kings are like the last 7 from the first, well, from the last 7 kings at the beginning of the 2520.
Mhm.
So I just noticed that. You've got 2300 there, and you have the 7 kings that's associated with at the beginning of it. And then she brought in the 7 kings of Judah. But I just realized now those are associated from the end and the beginning of the 2520.
So my picture's out of scale, my brother.
My answer, I think there are a lot of details already on the board, and there's so many points that can be made, and so many places you can go from the narrative that you're constructing up there. But if I was to back up and look at the larger picture, I know that the 2300 days is connected to the 2520 based on Daniel 8:13, because the 2300 days is an answer to a question, and the question is asked in Daniel 8:13, and the question is, how long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice, of course, the supply, and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot. So we know that the restoration of the host is representing the hosts are trodden underfoot, and we know that the beginning of the scattering, the 2520 marks out the beginning of the scattering of Israel and Judah respectively, but the 2520 for Judah you got marked out there, and it begins with the last 7 kings of Judah. So we know that the hosts, they are being scattered and trampled. So the connection between the 2520 and the 2300 days is God putting right 2 things that needed to be put right. One, when God's people are destroyed, the sanctuary, when God's people are scattered, the sanctuary is destroyed. But when the 2300 days meets its end, where you have it marked down there, the 3rd angel's message, then God's people have to be restored, but also the sanctuary, right? So you have both of them being put in place. One, the 2520 is in relation to God's people being restored at the end of that long scattering period. I think Sister Andrew was referring to that earlier with Tyler's presentation. But the 2300 days is pointing us to the sanctuary. And I think that's just the way it was illustrated.
Okay. So we know that the relationship between the 2520 and 2300 days is 220 years. And we have a number of witnesses, more than that I've put on the board, that the number 220 is the number of restoration. So the history of these 7 kings begins with a scattering, and it culminates with the beginning of a restoration. So the relationship between 2200 days and 2520 is the relationship between scattering and gathering. So the 2300 days teaches about a restoration, which you get from Daniel 8:14. It also teaches us about a restoration from the number 220 and its relationship to the scattering and the gathering. And there's one more important one that we get from 2300 days.
And I wanted to say also that with the 2520 and the 2300, they're both inseparably linked because they're both the same prophecy. Of course, not literally saying that 2520 is 2300, but they're both the same prophecy. Two sides of the same coin. One is dealing with the host, and the other is dealing with the sanctuary. And you need a host in order to have a sanctuary. And one of the things that the 2300 is dealing with a purification, and that would be answering to the Sunday law, the close of probation, the Day of Atonement.
My sister.
Also, with the scattering of the first of the last 7 kings of Judah is showing you the progressive fall of the glorious land, and 1798 is the rise of the glorious land in our time, the United States of America. But you also see how something that they illustrate is that, you know, when you look into the definition of their names, you can actually put them at the waymarks and identify that their names have something to do with the waymarks. Like, say, for example, Manasseh means to forget, and in 1798 the papacy was forgotten, and then so on and so forth with the
Okay.
following.
All I was looking for is just some really simple answers about the themes of the 2300 days. And one of the themes is about restoration, and you can show that two ways. You can show that through a beginning and an end, which is the restoration of the sanctuary, and also the relationship about the restoration in relationship to the 2520. There's one more thing that the 2300 days teaches us.
Would it be the building up of the temple? Or
Okay. So, how would you get that, the build up of the temple? Where do we find the 2300 days?
Daniel
And
13.
Sorry?
13 and 14.
No, and Daniel 8 and
Leviticus 16.
is it not Daniel 9?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do we find the 2300 days? Daniel 8
In that phrase.
and Daniel 9. No, not the phrase. But you need Daniel. You can't have Daniel 8 without Daniel 9. Yeah. Yeah. So let me read this to you. GC 368 paragraph 1. To William Miller and his co-labourers, it was given to preach the warning in America. This country became the centre of the great Advent movement. It was here that the prophecy of the first angel's message had its most direct fulfilment. The writings of Miller and his associates were carried to distant lands. Wherever the missionaries had penetrated in all the world were sent the glad tidings of Christ's speedy return. Far and wide spread the message of the everlasting gospel. Fear God, give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come. Yeah, a statement you all probably read. What's the point that she's making here? What's she saying? What's the summary of what she says?
To be honest, could you reread that?
I'll read it.
Because I was
Too
trying
fast?
to get to it.
GC 368 paragraph 1. To William Miller and his co-labourers, it was given to preach the warning in America. This country became the centre of the great Advent movement. It was here that the prophecy of the first angel's message had its most direct fulfilment. The writings of Miller and his associates were carried to distant lands. Wherever missionaries had penetrated in all the world were sent the glad tidings of Christ's speedy return. Far and wide spread the message of the everlasting gospel. So what do we get from this? Sorry?
Judgment.
Judgment.
Everlasting gospel.
Everlasting gospel. So it talks about the everlasting gospel, and what about it?
The
It's connected with the
proclamation
first
of
angel.
it.
Proclamation of it.
It's connected with the first angel.
It's what? Sorry,
Connected with the first
it's the
angel.
first angel's message.
And it's worldwide.
It's worldwide.
In America. I remember.
It's worldwide in America.
No, I remember her saying in the beginning.
More prominent.
More
It had its most
prominent
direct
Sorry?
fulfillment.
in America. I just.
Oh, you haven't got it on your
No,
phone.
I'm just
Okay.
saying
To William Miller and his co-labourers, it was given to preach the warning in America. This country became the centre of the great Advent movement. Why is that? Why is that so?
It's glorious.
The glorious land.
It's a restoration. This took place. Like
Here. Here.
because we get the restoration of the glory, but began in the glorious land, which would be America.
Everybody agree with that? Yeah, because it's the glorious land. Yes? So what's that in connection to the 2300 days? What does 2300 days teach about that? Why America? When you say the glorious land? What's so good about the glorious land?
That's where the glorious people are.
What's the name of the glorious people?
Jerusalem, or spiritual Israel, Jerusalem.
Revelation chapter 2 and 3.
The
Philadelphia?
seven churches. The church.
Which one?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia? Everybody agree with Philadelphia?
Well, because it would answer to the scouting of the 2520. Yeah, ancient Israel, God is now raising up modern Israel. Modern Israel needs a glorious land, and they would be fulfilling the commission that the Jews had failed, and so that's why That's why the Lord had to have a land for his people to worship, and that's what the messages were to do, or to cleave the people out.
Yep. So that's what my brother just said. So what's the name of the people?
Seventh-day Adventism.
In 1798.
979.
So what's the name of the people?
Protestantism at that point?
Revelation 2 and 3, I already said.
No.
You've got a choice of 7.
They were definitely Sardis and Philadelphia.
Okay, so
Philadelphia.
you would have, is it Philadelphia or
I would call it Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
when does Philadelphia come into existence?
I would 1840. Well, yeah, I would say 1840.
1840. So we don't have a church until 1840.
No, we have a church before 1840.
Who's that?
The second sentence.
Sorry?
I would say Sardis.
Sardis.
I'll say Sardis.
What does Sardis mean?
Those who escape and those who have
Those who escape. Escape from what?
persecution or the papal darkness.
Revelation 17 verse 5. What are you escaping from?
The flood.
Sorry?
The flood.
I don't think it says that in Revelation 17 verse 5. Sorry? So you escape from? So you're coming out of Babylon.
Right.
Yeah? So here what are you doing?
Escaping.
You come out of Babylon. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
And what's happening here?
They go in.
Right?
They go in.
Same thing. Yeah? So they're coming out of Babylon here. So this is Sardis. We agree with that?
Yes.
So when they're coming out of Babylon, where are they going to?
The glorious land.
Sorry?
Jerusalem.
The glorious land.
They're going to the glorious land. They're going to Jerusalem? Who said that? They're not Jerusalem itself?
You saying in
1798.
I thought you were talking
Oh,
about
1798.
No, they're coming out of they're in physically Jerusalem, but as far as doctrine, they're still in Babylon. They're coming out.
Out of,
Babylon,
into,
Jerusalem. Into the truths of God's word.
they're not already Jerusalem?
No, they're Jerusalem.
So they can't be going into Jerusalem if they're already Jerusalem.
But what about the Jews in 536? They were.
I was just talking about these ones.
I know. But
Because you're
what I'm
talking literally there, I'm talking here. They can't already be going into Jerusalem because they're already Jerusalem in this history, aren't they?
yes, but what I'm saying is in 536, God's currently keeping people who are still God's people in Babylon, but they were still having to come out of Babylon. So that principle that you carry over in this time, God's people, they are coming out of Babylon. And they're now, because that's what we said. We said that in 1798, they're coming out of Babylon. So they're coming out of Babylon and they need to go to Jerusalem. And that's fully fulfilled in April.
Aren't they going to the glorious land?
Yeah. Oh.
Because they're already, if you're trying to make a literal application here, isn't the church already Jerusalem in this history? Because Jerusalem's going to be trodden down for how long?
42
Oh,
months.
They're trodden down for, Jerusalem's trodden down, so they're already Jerusalem. They can't go into Jerusalem if they're already Jerusalem.
No, I'm not talking about the physical reality. I'm talking about
I know, but I'm asking, what are they coming out of? Because they're not,
people's darkness.
and where are they going? Because they can't be going into Jerusalem, because they're already Jerusalem.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Maybe I'm not clear what I'm saying. Oh, yes, sorry. What I'm saying is, them coming out of Babylon will be spiritual, yes? They're not literally coming out of Europe, right? 1798, God's
Are
church. Not literally. Yes, that's happening, but the focus is not that they're coming out of Europe. That people have been coming out of Europe since the 1600s. So the focus there in 1798 is not that they're coming literally out of Europe. It's coming out, like we said, 1798, out of Babylon. Babylon doesn't mean coming out of Europe because there are Christians in Europe.
Where's Babylon located?
Babylon is located in Rome. Well, as far as the papacy is concerned. But-
In Rome?
Yeah.
City of Rome?
Yes.
So Babylon's just a city?
No, it's not just the same.
It's
But my
what?
point is- say it again.
What is it if it's not just a city?
It's a religious system.
It's a system.
Where is it? Not because you said the city. If it's not just the city, where else is it?
Wherever Rome had jurisdiction,
Which is where?
which was Europe.
So it's Europe.
Right. But my point in what I was saying was, we're not talking about physically or literally in the first place because people have been coming in, like I said before, in and out of Europe since the 1600s.
Oh, they may. I know they're coming out. But who are the people that are coming out? Pilgrim Fathers.
The Protestant.
Yeah. So this is Revelation 12.
Yes.
So they're coming out of Europe
Yes.
to go to America. Why are they going to America?
To seek a.
Because it's the glorious land.
Yes.
So is not this Babylon here? And this is the glorious land here.
Yes.
And this is Europe.
Yes.
And this is the USA. Would that be fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
So, when this gospel message is given according to GC 368, where does it first go?
United States.
Why? Why does it have to first go to the United States?
Because there's many reasons, but one of the reasons why I would give is because they're supposed to be the template for the rest of the world, the example for the rest of the world. They're the ones who have to answer to the fulfillment of the second, or technically third beast of Revelation 13.
So let's go to 1 Peter 4:17. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of God? So in 1798, I think someone said here, the judgment hour call is given. So if the judgment hour call is given in 1798, where must it first go?
To the house of God
It first has to go to the house of God. And where is the house of God located?
in the glorious
It's in the glorious land, because it's Sardis, because they've come out of Babylon, they've come out of Europe. So it has to have first gone to America. We agree with that?
Yes.
So where do we see that principle upheld in the 2300-day prophecy, which is the third thing that we get, depending on how you count, the 2300 days teaches us? Here's the 2300 days. I'll redraw it up here. What date would this be?
457.
And this one?
1824.
And this one?
I would say 34 ways.
34 AD. Why would you say 34 AD?
Because probation closes for the Jews.
And who are the Jews?
God's covenant keepers.
So judgment first.
At the house of God.
First comes to the house of God. So this is 490. And this is.
1810.
So the third thing that 2520 teaches, if you're going to make these three separate things, is the progression of the judgment. It's first the church and then the world.
And that would do the Sunday law. Because the Sunday law test is progressive. First begins at God's people. And then it moves on to the succession.
Yeah, but I mean, even in Millerite history, where you don't even have a Sunday law,
Yeah.
it still follows the same progression. 1798, it's America, it's the Church of God. Then, depending on how you want to count, 1831, 1840, it goes to the world. It's the same sequence over and over again. Yeah? So, the 2300 days teaches at least these three major points that we pick up on our message. So I'll just read this one, GC 410. GC 410 is just confirming this. 70 weeks or 490 years were to pertain especially to the Jews. At the expiration of this period, the nation sealed its rejection of Christ by the persecution of the disciples, and the apostles turned to the Gentiles, AD 34. The first 490 years of the 2300 days, having then ended, 1810 years would remain. From AD 34, 1810 years extended to 1844. Then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. So I think it's a familiar passage to us. So just wanted us to see that the 2300 days has built within it a number of things, but the major ones that we pick up on is the subject of restoration of God's people, and also the judgment hour cry, which first begins with the church and then ends with the world.
Explain how that's 3 points again.
Sorry?
You have restored for two.
Yeah, it's two different ways of seeing it. The restoration is Daniel 8:14, because you're doing an alpha and omega, But the other way to understand the restoration is its relationship between the scattering and the gathering,
Okay.
which allows you to then get in the seven thunders of the Judean kings.
Right.
And if you went further back, then you get the seven kings of Israel. So, if we went back to this is 1989, and this is 9/11, and this one, Sorry? And then what you think?
It's the future.
In the future, so. So we know the name of these seven kings, don't we? I presume.
Yes.
So what are their names? Cyrus, Cambyses, Smyrnis, Darius, Xerxes, and Artabanus. So we're all okay with that.
Why did we include Artabanus again?
Sorry?
Why did we include Artabanus again?
Why do we include Artabanus?
Because he's the sixth.
Just to get the numbers to work.
Yeah, okay. Because I know a lot of historians don't necessarily count.
Everybody knows he's there. He's not some kind of figure that we just invented. But they don't recognise him as a very king. Because he usurps the throne and he's only there for a short while. How long is he reigning for?
A few months.
Right?
Like a few months.
Yeah, do you know how many? 7 months. He reigns for 7 months. So let's look at these kings. So we've got Cyrus, Cambyses, Smyrnis, Darius, Xerxes, Artabanus, and Artaxerxes. And we all know that this one is
Ahasuerus.
Yeah.
That's Ahasuerus.
Ahasuerus, yeah, from the Book of Esther. We all know that. Yeah. So when would we place this on our line? How would we go about doing that?
You put Cyrus at 1989.
Okay, so this is 1989, and this is the Sunday law. Sorry?
Okay, you said that X is marking Xerxes their Ahasuerus of Esther.
Yes.
Sorry. Of Esther. So I guess I don't know, I'm a little confused now if you factor that in, how okay, the second angel's message then will have to be Darius right there.
Yep.
Well, I don't know, just because you said Ahasuerus, then I was like thinking of like a prophetic connection, but then I guess that probably
A prophetic connection
Like-
to Ahasuerus?
like modern in regards to how you but forget that thought, we'll go through it and
Okay. Can we fill in the numbers? Or the events?
With Xerxes would be midnight.
Midnight?
Either put canvases as 1996, or perhaps
1996.
possibly put that there.
Are we not sure? We're just still being
Would it be 1996?
Midnight
You
Cry.
can't help us out.
Would Smyrtus and Darius kind of be combined because Smyrtus is representing,
I would think maybe 19, yeah, 1999.
Are these obviously these three are familiar to you? These four, we're familiar with those. We're familiar with this. So what are these two symbolising?
92 is the study of the reform lines, and 96 is the time of the invasion.
So let's bring it back to here. This would be what year?
33.
Sorry? 1818. And this one would be
1833.
31 to 33. Yeah? Agree with that? 1831 to 1833 and 1816 to 1818. What do we normally identify this as? Yeah? And this is the formalisation. So we're all reasonably happy with that.
Wasn't the reform line studied in 1989?
Sorry?
Wasn't the reform line studied in 1989?
They begin to be studied, but there's a document that's, or some specific studies that are done in 92, which is why we've marked 1992. Yep, everybody agree with that? Okay, so let me ask another question then. Why is that new to people? Is everybody new to some people?
I've never put those dates. I've never seen those dates with the Persian kings
Okay,
or those waymarks. I've never seen the waymarks in our timeline with the Persian kings' names like that. I suggested Cyrus as 1989 because I was going by Daniel 11:1, and then I got lost.
okay,
Because that's like kind of a different sequence. It's with the presidents.
okay. So maybe it's useful that we've done that then, because I wasn't
Yes.
sure if it was. So if you're going to do the presidents of the United States, you'd go with this one, which would be
That's Reagan.
Reagan/Bush.
I'll put
1989. So when do you actually have your elections? On an even year or an odd year?
It's on the even year.
So you have an even year. So
And then
So he was already, Bush was already in office.
so if it's 1989,
He's decided to be president already. They've already chosen.
the elections were in 88,
Right.
and Bush won. So by 1989, he's going to be inaugurated. Yeah. So this would be Bush, Clinton,
yeah, Clinton, then
Bush. Is
another Bush.
No.
that not right?
It is.
The dates might confuse you.
And the D lines up with Obama.
You don't look at the dates.
Yeah, dates might confuse you.
It's not the dates. Don't look at the dates. Look at the kings.
Okay.
Yeah. Obama.
And Trump.
Is that A? H-A?
No, it's just OBAMA.
There's no H?
No.
Is that H? There's no H in it at all?
It sounds just like it, spelled just like it
Okay.
sounds.
And this would be
This is Trump.
Trump. So we all know that? Okay. So how are we getting from Persian kings to American presidents? How are we making the connection?
Typology.
Okay, so who said that? So topology. What were you saying, Mr.?
Oh, I was just gonna say also from the connection of Daniel, Daniel, if I'm not mistaken, Daniel 10, and I've gone through just so much in this class. I feel With the connection from Daniel 10, where it explains that at the, I have to look at it. Is it okay?
Go ahead.
I could look at it. Because if I'm not mistaken, we connect Daniel 11, Daniel 10.
Okay, so I think I know where you're going with Daniel 10, but it's just a really simple question. How do we connect Persian kings to American presidents in really just a simple way?
Time in the end, the fact that they're Persian, Media and Persians who are in power, which is to define the two in power, the end of the world, which is the United States.
Okay, so if we go to Revelation, is that what you're going to say?
Yes.
If you go to Revelation 13, verse 11, what do we see?
These 13.
A lamb like beast with two horns.
Sorry?
A lamb like beast with two horns.
Okay, so why is it say a lamb?
A lamb.
What is a lamb?
Christian nation.
No.
It denotes its innocence.
What is a lamb?
It's
It's
innocent,
an animal.
it's a lamb.
Just a simple, what is a lamb?
It's an animal.
Let me ask you, what is a
Sacrificial animal.
what is a puppy?
An animal.
A baby.
A baby.
Sorry?
A baby.
Baby what?
A baby.
Dog.
Baby.
What is a lamb?
A baby.
Oh.
sheep.
Okay, so we've got a sheep,
A baby.
and this sheep has got what?
2 horns.
2 horns. So what's the typology that we're going to pick up? Sorry? No, the typology that we want to pick up. So we'll go to Daniel.
Which is
Where we were, Daniel where?
17.
So go to Daniel 8.
Yeah.
Let's go to Daniel 8.
Oh, the ram. Okay.
So if we go to Daniel 8,
It's talking about these nations.
sorry? Yeah, but we're going to use typology. So if you went to Daniel 7, what would you see? Why would you go to Daniel 7?
Just to define that a beast represents a kingdom.
Okay, yeah. So we can define, but how is that going to get us to Persian kings the same as American presidents?
No, you're not.
Okay, so Daniel 7 wouldn't do that. So in Daniel 8,
Recognize as a nation. That's all.
verse what?
Verses 3 and onward.
So we'll go to verse 20. If someone read, I think it's verse 20. Read that.
The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia.
Okay, so there's a ram. And what is a ram?
An adult male sheep.
It's an adult sheep. Because it's in its stage of maturity. So what we're doing is using simple typology to connect Medo-Persia with the United States. Yeah, because both of them is a sheep with 2 horns. Yeah. So it's that simple. Because we can go to Revelation, we can go to Daniel 10 and Daniel 11 and try and work out all the bits. But Daniel 10 and 11, all that's going to give you is, well, what would Daniel 10 and 11 give you? What did they give you?
It'll give you details, but it wouldn't show you how you got to your.
But what's the main point that they give you?
time in the end, 1989.
Yeah, they give you the starting point. That's what Daniel 10 and 11 gives you the starting point. But they don't give you the tools to actually understand that you've got the legitimacy to make one nation be a type of another nation. So you really need to go to Daniel 8 to do that, to work out that you can see that Medo-Persia is the United States. And so if we're in Daniel 10 and 11, and what did we just say Daniel 10 and 11 give you? The starting point. So where's the starting point in Millerite history for the subject at hand? 1798, yeah? Time of the end. So time of the end, 1798. So you've got 1260, yes?
Yes.
So what are we looking for here in this history?
Period of darkness. Report. Is that what?
What's the 1260?
Persecution.
Captivity.
Persecution. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Captivity.
Captivity. So we'll call it persecution and captivity. So these are the characteristics that we need to look for in this history. And do we see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
70 years.
So we've got here 70 years, and they're being persecuted, and they're captive where? In Babylon. The same place that they're captive here in Babylon. So we see, again through typology, literal Babylon, symbolic Babylon, they're going to be freed by a two-horned power. The two-horned power is going to help them. Two-horned power is going to help them. Yeah? And then Ellen White's going to do something nice for us. She's going to connect this one with this one. Yeah? She does that. So let's just read that one. This is Prophets and Kings 7:14. Prophets and Kings 7:14. I won't read the whole paragraph. I'll just skip places. PK 7:14, paragraph 1. Today the Church of God is free to carry forward to completion the divine plan for the salvation of the lost race. I'm going to drop down to the end of the paragraph. God's church on earth was as verily in captivity during the long period of relentless persecution, that's this one, as were the children of Israel held captive in Babylon during the period of their exile, which is this one. So she's going to tell you that the 70 is the same as the 1260. Yeah? So we can see another connection here when we think about the 2300 days, because you've got the 2300 days, the 7 Persian kings, and then the 70 years. Who's doing this who's doing this persecution? I'll give you the answer.
Yes.
The papal. And who's doing this one? Spiritual.
No, literal Babylon. Sorry.
Yeah?
I think spiritual.
Or paganism. So you have pagan and papal persecution. Yeah? And what did she say that the 70 years was the equivalent of? The 1260. So you can put 1260 here. So you know that this structure of the 2300 days, even though you've got a true 2520, just structurally you've got two 1260s. You've got 1260 of pagan persecution, 1260 of papal persecution. Otherwise, it already gives you this information using PK 714. Can we see that? The way she's done that for us. Yeah? Sorry? Yeah, it's a 2520. So she's got pagan and papal persecution. She's already identified that this is a typical of the 1260. So is my time run out?
2 minutes left.
2 minutes. Okay, so let me just summarise what we've looked at. We're looking at the 7 thunders of Mennonite history and connected them with the 7 last kings, the 7 kings of the Persian Empire. In fact, it's the first 7 kings of the Persian Empire, because there are a lot more than these 7. And we see that this is the history of the first and second angels' messages, and this is the history of the first and second decrees, ending in the third decree, ending in the third angel's message. We haven't quite decided where the second angel goes here and in this line of 7 thunders. Maybe we could think about that overnight. But we know that this one, we have scriptural evidence and scriptural prophecy to show us that the second decree here is in the reign of Darius. So we've done that. We saw the connection between the 2300 days and the 2520. There's 2 themes that 2300 days teaches us. One of them is the subject of restoration. We get that from an Alpha and Omega. We get that from its connection with the scattering of the 2520, giving you a 220. 220 is the number of restoration. Then we looked at the other thing that the 2300 days teaches us is that judgment first begins in the house of God. And Adventists don't recognise that, really. The reason they don't recognise that is because the scriptures and inspiration guide us in a different direction. They always talk about, almost exclusively, when we think about end time prophecy, that we, as God's people, bring judgment to the world. Never talks about judgment first coming to us. So the 2300 days opens that whole truth to us that we need to understand. Then we looked at the 7 kings, and we've begun to lay them out on our reform line. And some of us knew some of these and some of us didn't. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Most of these are familiar. 1992 is marking increase of knowledge, the formalisation, and I think the rest of them that you're familiar with. And then we spoke about how we actually go from Persian kings to United States presidents. And it's a really simple understanding is that they're both symbolised by sheep that have got 2 horns. And once you can see that, everything's straightforward. Then we also know that in Daniel 10 and Daniel 11, what they're teaching us is where to start the clock when it comes to American presidents. You start American presidents at the time of the end, at the same place that you start the Persian kings. And we do that through an understanding of the time of the end. And the time of the end we get from the connection of the 70-year captivity in Babylon and the 1260-year captivity in Babylon, because we're in Babylon in both places. And when we come to this story, because they're in Babylon for 1260 years, even though we recognise that Pilgrim Fathers came around 300 plus years before that, but they're still prophetically understood to be in captivity during that whole period of 1260. They leave Babylon and go to the glorious land. They leave Babylon and go to the glorious land. The power that does that is a 2-horned power, and judgment will first begin in the house of God in the United States. That's why the message had to have gone to the United States. It's Sardis is going to be judged first, because Sardis means to come out, and they're coming out of Babylon. And then we just lined up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 United States presidents. And we often talk about, even though you've got these last 2 Persian kings, do we understand why this is the last president and that there isn't any that go further on? Yeah? So we'll talk about that tomorrow because I've run out of time. So I'll ask you that tomorrow. Why do we stop the presidents here when we've got 2 more kings to go through? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your watch care and your goodness to us. As we close this study for the evening, we ask and pray that you would be with us and guide us. Help our thoughts and ideas to be centered and focused upon you during these sacred hours. We want to ask for a blessing as we fellowship together this weekend, and ask that you would be with us, that you would guide, bless and direct our studies. Help us to have a clearer understanding of your word. We ask and pray in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.